Now, oil giant Shell has announced it's cutting 10,000 jobs after reporting a sharp fall in profit. Its full-year earnings were the lowest for over a decade, almost $16 billion less than the previous year. From Siberia to the Arabian desert, the collapse in oil prices means companies and governments are losing money. Just look at this chart, for example. There we go. Less than 2 years ago, a barrel of oil was worth over $100. But since then, it's gone down, down, and down again to $50 a barrel, and then less than $30, where it's more or less stuck right now. Hayward is in Aberdeen, the oil capital of Europe. So how are they feeling the collapse of oil prices there?
Well, Sammy, people here are really holding their breath, watching those oil prices every day, because what happens out there in the North Sea really matters to a place like Aberdeen. It is the UK hub for the oil industry, and it is the European hub for the oil industry too. And the cuts, the low oil prices, are really beginning to bite.
They should be far out in the North Sea. Instead, these rigs are redundant, waiting for their next job, if it ever comes. With 30 years' experience, Kenneth Little knows the feeling. He's dedicated his life to Scotland's oil industry, but a few weeks ago was told his contract with BP was finishing months early. His family is a casualty of the global oil price slump.
People are saying, well, this is great because it costs so much less to fill up the car, to fill up the oil tank and everything else. People don't realise that the cost of that fuel coming down has an impact on the number of jobs out there.
Oil began pumping from beneath the North Sea back in the 70s. It's never been easy to extract, but it's supported hundreds of thousands of jobs across the UK.
The discovery of oil out there in the North Sea more than 40 years ago has helped bring in billions of dollars of revenue for the whole of the UK. It also changed the fortunes of some people living here. This crisis then is being felt both on and offshore.
Further south, Aberdeen, a city which became rich on black gold. Britain's oil capital is suffering though, with jobs going and many more at risk.
You're seeing retail activity down, you're seeing hotel occupancy down, you're seeing your taxi drivers saying their business is halved. So it is very real and very present at the moment in terms of the impact on the industry and the communities that support the industry.
But we soon found that there were many other industries that we could supply this material to.
This company has been supplying pipelines since the 70s, but is now diversifying into new markets.
Rather than look at it in a negative sense, we're looking at this as an opportunity to grow our business already in our domestic market and also in the international sectors. But we are focusing on nuclear, rail, utilities, other areas that necessarily are not affected by oil price.
There is a sense here that the industry is entering uncharted waters. There's believed to be about half as much oil left in the North Sea than has already been extracted. But with a global oversupply of energy, it might be politics that determines the future of the industry in Scotland.
Well, let's get more on this and speak to Professor Paul Delue. He's the director of the Oil and Gas Institute at Robert Gordon University here in the city. We cannot underestimate, can we, just how important what is out there in the North Sea is to Europe as a whole.
Absolutely. The North Sea has been a major success story for the UK, and what's been playing out over the last 18 months was a 70% drop in oil price had a huge impact on activity sets in the North Sea, but not just what plays out in the North Sea. Aberdeen is also a major export market for goods and services to oil and gas basins all around the world.
And what do you think about its future?
I mean, Aberdeen has a tremendous track record on innovation and technology implementation, and I think we have a huge entrepreneurial spirit. So despite the challenges, if we get our cost and efficiency right, we actually have a really great future still left here in the North Sea.
But we are seeing such a global surplus, aren't we, of oil? So will we still be stood here talking about oil in 10, 20, 30 years' time, do you think?
I think it's absolutely critical, not just for this part of the world, but for the UK, that we have a vibrant oil and gas industry. It's a very cyclical industry. We've been here a number of times before. It's a really difficult cycle at the moment. But I think if we get the focus right, get a cost and efficiency right, there's absolutely an awful lot to play for here in the North Sea.
Do you think if the prices do go back up, which inevitably they will at some point, it will just be a temporary fix for the North Sea?
I mean, price is always difficult to forecast, but the fundamentals, we have more supply than demand. If we look back in history, that tends to balance itself out after a number of years. It's particularly challenging. There's lots of political dynamics. Iran coming back onto the international markets, a lot of shale oil coming from the US. But again, history dictates the supply and demand will balance, and I think that will help bases like this to actually be competitive again in the future.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. So, challenging times ahead here in Aberdeen and for Scotland's oil industry. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks so much, Emma Hayward there.